What I'm going to talk about is about a survey we did earlier in the year with 85 firms around the customer journey. But don't have to take notes, because you will be handed one of these documents as you leave the room from Phil and Steve, so don't worry about taking notes, just listen intently. Let's see if I can, how does this work with only one battery in it? Does anybody know that? Oh, here. Let's see if that's better. Fantastic. I'm going to take 1 minute about me and about why I'm here today and how I got myself in a position of working with almost 150 law firms across the UK. My background's actually Harrods in London. I learned all my customer service there, and I married an Australian. I moved to Perth in Western Australia, and I walked into a supermarket and the service was poor, so I told the owner, he said, help me, and I mystery shopped him. And from that one experience, I grew a brand called Shopper Anonymous across Australia and New Zealand. We had about 1,000 clients. 10 years ago I sold it, I moved back to the UK, and I started doing it again in the UK, in Sussex and sort of the southeast. And then I had my moment of truth. I bought a house. And I went to my local solicitor, well, I wanted a local solicitor, should I say, and at 12:30 on a Monday, I rang their office, and the message says, I'm sorry, we were closed, and you can't leave a message. And it's sort of, as I walked away, and I've got to tell you, 10 years later, that firm has still got the same message. But as I walked away, I thought maybe there's an opportunity for a company like Shopper Anonymous to try and make some change within the legal sector. And today, as I say, we work with almost 150 firms within that sector, and we have 20 regional directors who are supporting firms in that journey. This was actually a first piece of marketing we did about 8 years ago. And if you can't see it, it's actually, it says at the top, fritter, waste, squander and lost. This is actually the name of the law firm. And we've got Horace Old School at the top of the firm. We've got Jonathan Waste, Jennifer Squander and Sandra Loss as the partners or people that work within that firm. And maybe that's a little bit harsh, because I think there's been mass improvement since we did that. But it was really about making the point that inquiries, you know, they are the lifeblood to your business. And if you're not handling them well, then you're not going to have a business. It's as simple as that. So, I'd like to ask you two very quick questions, really. I'd like you just to think about this for a minute. Can you get away with delivering poor service? Probably not. And where does service come when you sit down as partners to talk about your business? And the board meetings that I go and sit on and listen to, often it's on the AOB part of the agenda. And I would suggest that maybe it needs to be a little bit further up in everything you do. In fact, this morning, there were glimpses and almost discussions about service, which is fantastic. So it clearly is becoming more and more of an issue. So let me just tell you a bit about what we did, because it's very simple that you can't manage what you don't measure. And I know when we go to firms, and for this particular project, we went to 85 firms who volunteered to be mystery shopped with phone, walk-ins and web inquiries. And in nearly every single case, I would say in 80% of the cases, they would have told us that they felt they delivered good or better customer service before we actually went through this journey. We did the journey, we presented it actually first of all at LegalX down in London earlier in the year, and then we took all of the findings back to these firms. And in one case, someone cried. Because what we think we do and what we think we deliver, we're nowhere near it in reality. So it is about measuring, so we can manage the improvement, we can do the things we need to do to be really fantastic at handling inquiries and that. So I'm going to very quickly take you through the results. Now, this is just a very quick snapshot. We have a brochure you can have, so that's got more detail in it. And then I'm going to compare you to a group of about 70 firms we've been working with for more than 4 years and show you the differences. So if we look at the key ingredients, let me just go back. There are 4 key ingredients delivering great service. One is about speed of response. The second one is about the clarity of response. You're very technically minded. How do you get that technical stuff across to people that know very little about what you're doing? The thirdly is about the level of personalisation and care. So when we look at all the results, these are the key things that really, really matter. And the fourth one is actually your ability to actually develop the business through an excellent customer service journey. Walk-in inquiries. So, out of 100% of the walk-in inquiries we did across the firms, only in 71% of cases could we actually speak to someone that knew what they were talking about. only in 71%. So we would walk in and typically we would say, I may have a claim, or I want to get a divorce, or I want to write a will, or I want to buy a house, sell a house, whatever it might be, a whole range of different inquiries. But in 29% of cases, there was nobody available to talk to that person that walked in to that office. So when they walk next door to their competition, and there is somebody, well, they're clearly going to win and have a much better chance of signing up that business than where there isn't. So thinking about your journey and thinking about every minute of every day, is there someone available to talk? But for 71% of cases, but we actually spoke to somebody, only 7%, only in 7% of the cases was an actual follow-up done after that discussion. Think about that. 7%. And if I told you, and this is the most staggering fact, that in 55% of the 71% of cases, that no contact details were ever taken, despite the fact that they spent 20 minutes, half an hour with a fee earner, that's an instant thing that you can do in your business to make sure you have a chance of winning the business. And if we look at that in a little bit more detail, 50% of times the client's name was used during that journey. So on 50% of occasions, we don't ever call the client by their name. So when we talk about personal experience, and if I said to you, which company would you like to, if you ask any business, which company would you like to aspire to in the UK, most people say John Lewis, Waitrose. About 75% of business owners aspire to that. One of the reasons why they're very good is they're very personal, and they've got name badges, and they use the name, and they talk to customers, and they use the name of the cards and all that sort of thing. So actually, using the name throughout the experience is really important, because people will leave thinking they've got a high level of care and sincerity even if the name was never used. In 42% of meetings with a solicitor, only 42% of meetings were actually in a suitable place within the building. So we had cases where personal information was being discussed in the reception with other customers in the reception. So thinking about, again, the customer journey, where you're taking somebody, how are you going to look after them? They're a guest, host, how are you going to do it? In 12% of cases, the fee earner mentioned they would be a follow-up inquiry, but only actually in 25% of the 12% did it actually happen. And when they did do the follow-up inquiry, only in 30% of the cases did they actually ask for the business or have any form of close on that business. So the good news is there's massive opportunity. That is the really, really good news about it. If you look at website inquiries, again, so we do 100% of website inquiries. We got a response from 88% of firms. In 24% of cases, we actually managed to speak to somebody. So your whole objective for a website inquiry should be to have a conversation. And what we find a lot of firms do is they immediately send back loads of information. They think, I've done that, tick a box, and they've sent this information, which is just standard, box standard information. The name might be wrong or badly spelt or whatever it might be at the top. But actually it isn't about that. The client really wants to talk to somebody. So how are you going to get to talk to them? It's not by sending them paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text. It's about saying something personal and caring that makes them feel that, yes, I could start to trust this firm. I would like to have a conversation with them. And then in only 6% was actually follow-up to a web inquiry. Now, it's quite interesting. You develop, if you work with good businesses, conscious to hear about, they're very good at developing sites, and what they impose, they do some form of mystery shopping when they develop sites, because what that does, it means that you're not looking at the web developer saying, well, hang on a minute, your site doesn't work, and they know that actually it may be a service issue. So measuring, developing your website, spend thousands of pounds, measure it, because if you measure it, you know that both sides of that equation are going to work for you. Let's look at some quick more statistics here. In 20% of cases, clients felt that the email wasn't well written, or there were spelling mistakes. A third of clients felt the email was not personalised. In 86% of cases, the email could have encouraged a discussion, so they thought, actually, this is quite a good email. However, in reality, this only occurred 25% of the time. So asking the question, when can I get back to you, when can we have a conversation, is really, really important. And finally, if you look at actually response rates here, 35% responded within 4 hours, which actually I thought was quite good, that's quite high. But if you go down to the bottom, 35% were more than 2 days or didn't respond at all. So the response is quite quick, but it's consistently doing that that's really important. If we look at the phone, In 43% of cases, receptionists ask the client's name, so they're putting them through to a fee earner. In 57% of cases, they didn't ask for the client's name, so they couldn't say to the fee earner, I've got Jonathan Winchester on the line, he wants to talk about this issue. 31% of receptionists inform a client who they'll be speaking to as well. So rather than just putting it through, only in 31% of cases they say, well, I'm going to put you through to Julie Jones, and Julie's our expert in this area. Personalising it. When they were put through, 20% of calls went to a voicemail. So it sat on a voicemail. 80% were answered promptly. And again, response time. So we left messages, so we would ring at 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 5 past 5, 10 to 9 in the morning, and you get an answer phone. And 24% respond within 3 hours, 29 within a day, but 45% was longer than 3 working days or not at all. I'd just give you a challenge actually. When you go home tonight, ring a direct dial in your firm and listen to the message and ask yourself, does that message convey the business I want my business to be? First of all, is it personalised? Is it enthusiastic? Does it give a reason to leave a message? Does it actually say to people, this is when we're going to call you back? It's a good exercise to do. So what do we know? So this project was a big project, but what do we know from this? There is definitely a gap emerging between firms that measure and firms that don't. So if you're not measuring, you are getting left behind. And we work with LawNet, 64 firms, and we have done for 4 years, and their service standards are 11% above the firms that don't measure at all, 11% above. So that actually kind of tells you that on their bottom line, and the firms would say on their bottom line they're actually making far more money because their inquiry rate, conversion rate has increased significantly because they are doing it that bit better. We also know that those that do it, they sign up new clients. We also know that using the information to bring your team together, to have a discussion in your business is absolutely invaluable. How often have you, just think about it, when was the last time you brought in your receptionist, you brought in your fee earners, you sat them down, you said, let's talk about our customer journey. What does it look like? How are we going to improve it? If you've got some data, some third-party data that tells you what it's like, you've got some brilliant information and evidence that's actually going to ensure that you can make some change and create a really good discussion in your business. If you really want to improve also, look at other sectors. So look at other sectors that really do it well. And one of the sectors that does it really well is optics. Independent opticians are really becoming very good now at customer service because of the Specsavers and Vision Expresses. They've had to up their game. And so don't just look within your sector, look outside. Get ideas from outside as well that you could implement. And final couple of points for you. The millennials are your future. And you know what it is about millennials? They actually want it now. And Amazon have recently been voted the best customer service firm in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because about a month ago I needed a new PC. And 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting there and I order one. 10 o'clock the next day, new one's working on my desk. So the time it takes to get a call returned from a law firm, Amazon have delivered and got it up and running, working. And that is the expectation of the youngsters. That's what they're going to expect from you. So somehow you need to have a really good look to see what can you do to meet that expectation. Firms that sort of get it are now also starting to track the customer journey. So we have an application called Feedback Direct, and they're actually tracking during the experience. So you have a 3-month case. Every 2 weeks, that client is being with a push. How do you feel about the service you're getting? As a leader of a business, you can track that against fee earners and departments. So you've got some data to use internally, so you know exactly how your clients feel at this moment of time. It was about 6 months ago, I spoke around the corner, and the head of a law firm stood up, he was talking about his law firm, and he said, we've got 94% customer satisfaction of being excellent at what we do. And I asked him afterwards, and I said, tell me about how you measured that. He said, we sent a survey out after the experience. He said, yeah, and I said, what response rate do you get? He said, oh, we get about 9% back. The 9% back isn't the important bit for the future of your business. It's the other bit. Because they're the ones who will tell you what's wrong that you can put right. And unless you track it and measure it and get that feedback, you're never ever going to know. And actually, you get a survey back and you've got 90% customer satisfaction. Don't think it's all going well. Look at all of the picture, the whole thing, because they're the ones that will tell you. That's me. Thank you very much.